What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook. We are the Tour Junkies. I'm David Barnett. We got Pat Perry. We just finished up our own podcast. You can check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. You know why? Because you're going to like it. You're going to like the video. But we've been doing this long enough. By now, you know what to expect. So just give it a thumbs up. If you think we're tools already, just click off the video and go somewhere else. But go ahead and give it a thumbs up. We're going to have a good time. Subscribe to the DraftKings channel here. We're going to talk about a couple names that we just talked about on our show, but we maybe had a little disagreement on, Pat. Let's talk about those names after your course breakdown. You tell us a little bit about the golf course for this week. And then we're going to talk about a few sportsbook plays over on DK Sportsbook that are standing out to us here on a Monday night for the Corrales Puntacana Resort and Club Championship 2020. Pat, tell us about the golf course.
Yes, so we are at the Corrales Championship at Puntacana Resort and Club. As you mentioned, this is it's a par 72. It's playing 7,666 yards. So, got some length to it, but this is a resort-style course. One of those courses, it is definitely easy for these guys to play. It's not set up for tour events. I mean, this is set up for amateurs, for people that want to come on a good, golf trip and, be able to play a good golf course and just have some fun. So the greens aren't terribly hard to hit. The fairways aren't that hard to hit, just like we saw or unlike we saw last week at the U.S. Open, not a whole lot of rough and things like that. So this is going to be a scoring fest this week. I'm going to be looking at guys that are checking the box in birdie or better percentage, par 5 scoring, which is something I always look at on par 72s. This is a Tom Fazio design. And if you want to talk about Tom Fazio, one of the things he likes to do is he likes to have some names on his courses. So the last 3 holes are the Devil's Elbow. So it's got like a little nickname to it there, just like that elbow kicking you in the is what he's doing at the very end with the Devil's Elbow. But we got Paspalum surface as far as the greens and tee to green this week. As far as the grass surface, that's interesting. We don't see that a whole lot unless we're in climates like this, which is very rare. You see this at like the Puerto Rican Open and stuff like that. You see it at the Mayakoba Classic, where Matt Kuchar did a lot of good for caddies around there, or
Debatable.
not. Just kidding. So anyway, it's going to be one of those scoring fests this week. It's not a great field. You look at the past champions. We had Graham McDowell win last year. You had Bryce Garnett in 2018. This was a web.com event, by the way, in 2017 and 16. And Nate Lashley and Dominic Bazzelli won those events. So it's,
interesting.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm looking at scores this week, and that's pretty much it. And some form, and some guys that are coming in good form. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, probably something around 20 under is going to win this thing, unless it gets windy. That's something to think about. Be sure and check the weather on Wednesday night before these boys tee off. Unless the wind kicks up, you're going to win this thing at 20 under. You got to take advantage of the par 5s. You got to make a lot of putts, because most people aren't going to miss fairways. Most aren't going to miss any greens. It's just going to be about hitting it close and making the putts here at Corrales. So weak field, really weak field, Pat. Let's get into this. One name that we disagree on is the very first name there on DraftKings. The very first name, it is Will Zalatorius. Now, if you're wondering who Will Zalatorius is, listen, he's a stud, okay? He's a total stud. Korn Ferry Tour star, I believe. Don't quote me on this. I believe he's had 11 consecutive top 20s on the Korn Ferry Tour, including a win. Talented kid coming off a T6th at the U.S. Open at Wingfoot. Pretty crazy for a guy on the Korn Ferry Tour. very deserving of full-time PGA Tour status, if you ask me, but he's getting kicked in the special spot due to COVID rules, honestly, is what's happening. Because if not for COVID, he'd be on the PGA Tour full-time right now, given his Korn Ferry Tour season that he had last year. Hits it a long way. Great tee to green player. But I am on the side of fading Will Zalatorius at 10.9K on DraftKings. And the reason is this. I get it. Like, normally the top price guy on DraftKings is over $11,000, so it may feel like you're getting a little break, right? And I know people could say, well, it feels like you're overpaying for every player at this golf tournament, which I get because the field is weak. You do feel like, wow, I've never paid that much for this player. But Will Zalatorius being the highest price guy, and I think you're not going to get a whole lot of ownership leverage with him in tournaments. I think he's going to be around, 17 to 20% owned in GPPs across DraftKings. So you're not getting a whole lot of ownership leverage. You really, really need him to finish top 5 in DraftKings scoring in points to return the value, maybe even top 3 to return value. And, can he do that? 100%. The odds are that if he did this 100 times, is he going to return that to you half the time? Probably not. Like, I just don't think there's value there. Will Zalatorius, I made this example in the podcast. I like Luke List. Luke List down there in the 8K range. Also hits it a long way. Also scores on par 5s. Here's the difference. Luke List won earlier this year, similar to Will Zalatorius on the Korn Ferry Tour. But the difference is Luke has a ton of experience on the PGA Tour. He's proven that he can contend in PGA Tour events. And he has the same winning upside to me as Will Zalatorius at a $2,000 price difference. So I just don't think you pay for the stud that everybody's hyped up about because he just had a great week at the US Open. That's my take. Now, Pat, you want to play him, defend the play.
I do like Will Zalatorius this week, and I don't think you could just say based off of what he did last week at the US Open, he has just done this continuously all year long when it comes to the Korn Ferry Tour and everything. And you're right, he should be on the PGA Tour already. We should have more history there. I think there's a reason he's here at 10.9. It's obviously because he's one of the best players in the field right now. I don't know if ownership is going to be as high as you think it will be. I mean, we'll see as the week goes on here. We're recording this here on Monday night. It could be less than what you're thinking. But the guy, I mean, he fits everything you want to look at this course, for one, and he's in great recent form. I mean, you look at the stats. He checks the box. He's 11th off the tee. He's 5th in approach. He's checking the box as far as scoring is concerned. So I think Zalatorius makes, plenty of sense to play this week. And especially if I feel like he's going to be a little lower owned than you think he is. And I'm not you're putting him against Luke List. That doesn't matter. We're trying to get 6 guys here and 6 guys through the cut. I don't. But
I have a better chance of doing that if I don't have to spend 10.9 on the top guy. I could get the same value.
But I think
a
guy like Luke List is way more risky to miss the cut than somebody like Will Zalatorius.
I don't think so.
I think he is. I think Zalatorius has proven over what he's done, not only on the Korn Ferry Tour.
This is still a PGA Tour event. It's a weak PGA Tour event, but this field is stronger than a Korn Ferry Tour event. Not by much, but it is stronger than a Korn Ferry Tour event. Okay. And Luke List only really plays on the PGA Tour and makes cuts on the PGA Tour all the time.
Would you not agree that odds makers are pretty smart people, right?
They are.
Will Zalatorius not one of the favorites to win this event?
He is a favorite. Yes, he's favored over Luke List.
Don't you think that because of that, there has got to be a good reason for him not only to make the cut but to win the event?
But that's not all because that's not all implied odds to win from the odds makers. Some of that is taking advantage of the hype. Everybody saw the T6. Everybody's talked him up in the golf world. So they're going to throw a short number. They know they're going to get some action on him. So they're putting a short number on him. in reality, they probably won him more around that 25-1
See, I feel like though
number.
that they were sitting there thinking, all right, we can sit here and put Zalatorius in the low 9K, high 8K range, and we get a ton of ownership, or we can throw him up here at the at the highest price guy, and we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
get.
I like the price.
I think
I
the
love the
price
price.
is I think
Makes
it's
it an easy
great.
decision for me. To me, it's an easy
I
decision.
think it makes
it's a
an easy
no-brainer.
decision to play him, and you get
No,
some ownership leverage.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Of note, Corey Connors this morning on DraftKings Sportsbook. We're recording on a Monday night. This morning, Corey Connors was not 14-1 along with Will Zalatorius to win this tournament. He was longer. He was 18-1, 22-1, something like that. As of now, he is already matched Zalatorius and is also now 14-1. So there are a number of guys that have equal, if not greater, winning upside as Will Zalatorius. I'll give you another name. Honestly, if you ran this tournament 100 times, I think Sam Burns wins more times than Will Zalatorius. I just do.
I don't agree with that.
Why all of a sudden is everybody all over Will Zalatorius? Why? He's been
because he's a damn
good
golfer.
He is, but is Sam Burns not a damn good golfer?
He's not as good as Will Zalatorius.
But he's playing against PGA Tour competition. That's different. We've seen one event from Zalatorius. One.
Zalatorius just played in the U.S. Open in one of the hardest events all season and finished top 10.
That's the one event.
And he had a hole in one. By the way, just a side note.
It's just such a small sample size is what I'm saying. And what we have is a greater sample size with a player like Sam Burns, Corey Connors, Luke List. Name a few. And so for me, listen, I think Will Zalatorius is going to make the cut. I think Will Zalatorius is probably going to finish top 25. I don't think he necessarily is likely to return DraftKings value at 10.9 when, like you said, you got to get 6 through the cut. So save a little bit. You're not gaining a whole lot of ownership leverage by playing him.
A cheaper range that you can play to help you get 6 of 6 through.
What's that?
Especially with him being cheaper at 10.9 than you typically have your
it's
highest
a little
price
cheaper.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, agree to disagree. You got anybody?
I'll tell you a guy I disagree with you on, and that's Emiliano Grillo. I think that
I thought you liked Grillo.
I like him from I think from a DFS standpoint, I'm not a big fan. I think he's probably going to be too high owned. Look, what is he doing all that great lately? Like, does he have any great finishes? Does he have, the course history here? He's played here once. Like, what does he have, like a 50th place finish? Where did he finish?
Yeah, 50.
50. That was right. So, I just don't I think I would rather go to a guy like Adam Long right above him, who I feel like is in better recent form than Grillo. I think Grillo's kind of a has-been right now.
I like Long as well. So I like both names. He did finish 29th at the Safeway. Not bad. He gained 6.2 strokes on approach. He did finish third at the 3M Open. You want way stronger field than what we're facing here. Made the cut at the PGA, played well at the Northern Trust, the FedEx Cup playoff event. He is a proven. He's at least won on the PGA Tour. It feels like forever ago, but he's at least won on the tour. He does he actually checks a handful of boxes to me. He hits the ball straight, fairly long. He's a great total driver of the golf ball. 7th in this field in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. He scores a lot of DK points. He checks that box. He's a greens and regulation.
Putter, so he's a terrible putter.
He's always been a terrible. He's always been a terrible putter. Always. But from a tee to green standpoint, that's why you play Emiliano Grillo, and you just hope that some putts drop. But even at the Safeway, finishing 29th, he didn't putt well at all. But gained 6 strokes on approach. Like if he can just make a few putts, and I'm not saying he's gonna gain 6 strokes again, but I feel like Grillo, you just need a few extra putts to drop, or if he just putts to the average for that week, then he has winning upside. So And I like the cost savings. I mean, this is not this tournament to him is a little peon tournament. This tournament to Will Zalatorius is a big deal. It's a PGA Tour event, and it's the strongest. Other than the last week at the U.S. Open, it's a strong field, stronger than he sees week in and week out. It's like hey, I need to take advantage of this. This is the PGA Tour. It's a big moment. For Grillo,
even more reason to play Zalatorius.
Yeah, but you got to pay up for him. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't like Zalatorius. I'm just saying I don't like him at that price. It's the price. It's the price and the value that you got to get out of him at that price. That's it.
Okay.
All right. I don't want to be here all night. Let's talk about Sportsbook. Let's talk about DK Sportsbook. Shortest number that you're betting. Who you got?
Shortest number that I am betting is Pat Perez at 25-1 on the DK Sportsbook. I like him this week. I think he's a good play. He's just one of those guys who's you never know when he's going to pop, but he's played well here before in the past. He was top 10 last year, I believe, or 2 years ago. I think that we've seen him withdraw from recent tournaments, but I say top 10 last year here. I think he was top 10 at the Safeway is what I meant to say. So I think Pat Perez is in good form. I like him at 25-1. I think that's a good number. I also like Denny McCarthy at 28-1. I think that's a good number as well. He's another
Denny
guy that we've
Pat there.
He's played well recently. And then Adam Schenk at 33-1. I think is another good guy from as far as the shorter odds are concerned. And that's pretty much it for me under the 40-1 range. I would imagine you're going with Grillo at 28-1. That might be one you like. But other than that, that's all I've got.
No, listen, you know me. I'm going big or I'm going home. So I'm not going to give you anybody under 40-1, but I will give you Luke List, who I've already kind of mentioned at 40-1. I'll start there with List, and then I'm going to go down to Xinjin Zhang at 50-1. Very accurate player.
Who I mentioned on the pod for DFS purposes.
You did mention on the pod. I like him there too. But I like Xinjin at 50-1. Good ball striker, good putter, has flashed some form lately. So, I'll bite on Xinjin. I mean, at a tournament like this where your past winners you mentioned are Graham McDowell, Bryce Garnett, Dominic Bazzelli, Nate Lashley on the Korn Ferry Tour. Like, this is a tournament where, unlike last week where we said, listen, the cream is going to rise to the top. The short numbers are likely to pull this off at a U.S. Open at a difficult course. But when we arrive here at a Birdie Fest, it is wide open. So I don't really love betting on guys shorter than that 40-50-1 number anyway. I just think there's so much value, and I'd rather spread out my units, cast a wide net, hit me a nice winner, just because it's not as likely. The top of this tier does not separate themselves from a talent standpoint like we see in other events where guys are stronger. I'll drop down to Will Gordon. I'll kind of hit this intermediate range, and I'll let you pop in. Will Gordon at 66-1. Love me some Will Gordon. Can't quit him, won't quit him. Incredibly talented player, hits it a mile. One of the longest players on any tour right now, especially the PGA Tour, as long as Bryson, as long as Matt Wolff, is Will Gordon. So you talk about a guy with a lot of upside, can hit it a long way. I think if the wind is mild, I like him even more here. He can just rip it. So I'll go Will Gordon. Then I'm going to go to Keith Mitchell at 80-1. I don't know what to do with Keith Mitchell, except I know the guy's won the Honda, which is an extremely difficult course to win in a very strong field on the PGA Tour. I know he hits it a long way. I know he scores on par fives. He seems pretty unpredictable lately. The form is up and down, but 80-1 is just a number for that guy that is hard for me to pass up. So yeah, I'll go there. Anybody in that still sub 100 range for you?
Well, I had Chris Kirk at 80-1. I think he's at a good
I like
number
that.
right there. A guy that we've seen play well in the Corn Ferry. He won an event just a couple months ago, but trying to make his way back on tour after having a few issues and things like that. I mean, Chris Kirk is a scorer. I mean, he did when you look at the tournament he won just a couple months ago, he was like 25 or 26 under in a field just like this where you had to score a ton. So I like that for Chris Kirk at 80-1. I think that's a good number as well. I'm with you on Keith Mitchell. I'll also go. I'll throw out. I think Kevin Chappell at 90-1 is a good number. I like that. This is a
Yeah.
guy we saw shoot 59 back at the Greenbrier last year. He's had some injury issues. So I think Kevin Chappell is another guy at 90-1 in a field like this. I could see coming out of nowhere and winning.
He's had injury issues. As far as we know, currently does not. He's on a medical exemption, major medical exemption. So he's picking the spots that the fields that he can get into to play. You got to feel like this is, as important of an event for him as it is for anyone in this field. But yeah, Kevin Chappell is a name that, like you said, a year ago shot a 59. He's played on a President's Cup. He's always been known as a solid ball striker, plenty long, good caddy on the bag. I really like the number at 90-1 with Kevin Chappell. And I like the Chris Kirk play. I think when you look at the winners, if I told you, hey, here's a tournament where Dominic Bozzelli, Nate Lashley, Graham McDowell, Bryce Garnett, and Chris Kirk have won. Like all of those guys fit. They all kind of do the same things. And I think Chris really, suits that. Personally, like I'm always drawn a little more to the length, especially on a par 72, 4 par 5, 7,600 yards, even though it's not going to play quite that long. So I'm drawn to the length with Mitchell and Gordon and guys like that, high upside guys. But it wouldn't shock me if a guy like Chris Kirk does come out and do really well. So I agree with you on those calls. Longer than 100-1. My favorite pick, longer than 100-1, is honestly is probably Hudson Swafford. He's, let's see, he's at 125-1. Swafford, always a really good total driver of the ball, meaning great combination of accuracy and just enough distance, a little bit longer than normal. And it's popped up and had some flashes of form lately. Good ball striker, solid putter. I think Swafford at 125 is interesting. And then I'll go with Scott Harrington, also at 125-1. Now he's opposite. He hits it a long way, takes advantage of the par fives and his length. That's what Scott Harrington does. So I'll go with Scotty Harrington at 125, Hudson Swafford at 125. That's as long as I'm getting.
I'll give you two guys here in the 150-1 range. Scott Brown, we saw him win at a tournament like Puerto Rico where they have this paspalum grass, throughout. I think that's, interesting, and he does check some boxes. So I like him at 150-1. And then right there after him, Michael Gligic. I think he is a good play as well. If you've seen his form, he is in good form this, heading into this tournament. And so you look at 150-1, I think that's a good number for him. So I will go with him as another kind of a long outright. He is also 33-1, by the way, for a top 5 finish. If you don't want to risk that, outright, maybe top 5 for him as well.
For old Gligic, huh? Top 5. What's he? I'm interested to see where he's at for a top 20. Where is he there? Must be.
I don't see the top 20. I do see the top 10 at 12-1.
Okay, all right. I like old Gligic. I think that's an interesting move there. I like him. He's been playing really well. Oh, top 20. He's plus 550, so a little bit shorter there. So, all right, that's a wrap for us for the Corrales Puntacana Championship 2020. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments, are you going to play Will Zalatorius? Are you on my side or are you on Pat's side? You need to plant a flag. You're either going to go all in, go overweight on Zalatorius and DFS, or are you going to fade him completely like yours truly? and hope he finishes, probably top 10 or worse, top 15 or worse. And then he really doesn't kill you at that point. So check that out. Comment in the YouTube comments here below. Let's have a great week. May your screens be green. Tour Junkies After Dark. See ya.
Oh.